I might not know how Wi-Fi charging works, but I know how to record something.
Okay, so you're recording now. So did you want me to start off?
Yeah, we'll start off now.
Yep. Okay, well, firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today to the Forum of Inclusion, the first of many that we hope to be put forward by the Disability Collective and the SRC collaboratively. I'd like to begin by acknowledging and paying our respects to the traditional custodians of the country that we meet today, the Dara Gadigal Gunnegar Darwal peoples of the Eora Nation. We note that their lands and their sovereignty were never ceded, and we pay tribute to them and their elders, both past, present, and emerging. And we also welcome any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. Everyone is welcome in this forum. We want you to feel that it's okay to be authentically yourself. Please let us know if there's anything that we can do to help include you in the forum. Everyone is welcome to use their own strategies to help them feel relaxed in terms of communication, movement, pronouns that support participation and respect. If there's anything that you wish to contribute to the forum and don't feel comfortable vocalizing, please pop it in the chat and Rob or myself will read it out on your behalf. Rob, handing back over to you.
Yeah, I know. I've just never run a forum before, so it's a bit daunting. Okay, so to introduce myself, I actually know everyone here. So as you know, my name's Robert and I'm current SRC representative for disabilities. And I'd also like to welcome Stephanie is here. So we have at least one member of collective as well.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. Nice to meet you all virtually today.
Also, Pauline, who used to be an old representative of the collective last year. So I just want to make sure I don't lose my place. So just to introduce what the forum is about. As you know, this is going to be a holistic forum or workshop, however you want to say it. Allows all students here and interested staff to understand the workings of the Western Sydney University that Western Sydney University currently operates under the banner of Disability Counselling and Welfare. Also gives us as students, both as representatives and non-representatives, a chance to know the relevant points of contact in order to gain help that they may need progressing through their courses at times of difficulty, adversity, or just to obtain basic necessities that will aid them through their course. I've had a lot of feedback. There are a lot of students who are not actually aware of these services. And as such, I believe we all have a duty of care to all students to provide a means of communications when they're in need of help. So
did you just want me to give a brief introduction as to what the collective does?
If you can, yep.
Yep. So I'll just give a brief introduction as to what the Disability Collective does. We first started in 2017 as a student representative body for those with disability, medical condition, including mental health, as well as student carers. Large majority of our work is in the realm of advocacy. And that's something that myself has been awarded for in 2018 with the Student Voice Advocacy Award at the Student Leaders Awards that year. Vicky-Rae Stanley, which is also a current Disability Collective representative, was also awarded with that same award the same year. A lot of what we're doing at the moment is, the Disability Collective is doing at the moment, and I'm just guiding the new reps through, is a lot of it's basically showing them the ropes, what we do in terms of advocacy, in terms of events, and also collaborations within the university, which we hope to be further supported and part of that collaboration process to be brought together today through your participation in this forum. Yep. So if just to go on to the next point, just if we could just ask everybody to briefly introduce themselves. I'll start with myself and then we'll go to Pauline and through. So my name's Vicky-Rae. I was the SRC Disabilities representative for 2019, 2020. And then Rob took over in 2021, that term. Prior to that, I was also the disabilities officer for Bankstown from 2017 through to 2019. I'm also currently the SRC representative for Bankstown. So yeah, I've also been in a number of different communities within the university, including academic planning and course approvals. So I'm pretty well aware of the processes within the university. So just pass on to Pauline. Can you introduce yourself, love? You're on mute.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so my name is Pauline Tan. Like Rob mentioned, I was the Disability Collective Officer for Parramatta South last year. Well, 2019 to 2020 period. And right now, I'm not the officer anymore, but I am the treasurer of the Weightlifters Club and also the vice president of Modern Ink, which is another student club focused around writing and creativity. And yeah, I'm in my 6th year of uni and studying a double degree of social science and international studies. So I've been at the uni for quite a while, so I do know the ropes around disability and stuff like that, having had to manage my disability all throughout my study of 5 years so far. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Thanks, Pauline. Terry, can you just give a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Terry Mears. I'm the manager for the Disability Service. So I've been around, it's nearly a year now, most of it online. Been on campus for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I still, even though I've been here nearly a year, I still feel like I'm trying to find my way around, literally around buildings at the moment, because I have no idea where I am. I know how to get to the car to the office, but I'm just figuring out the rest of it. So sometimes I may say I'm not sure about that, but that's just because I haven't come across that before, and I'll definitely find out for people. But just to give people a bit of background, I'm an occupational therapist by background, and I've worked in the disability sector probably, I don't know if I want to admit how old I am, but about 25 years, but I've also got a hearing impairment as well. So I'm actually using my new gadget today to hear you all, so everyone else can't hear, which is very cool. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Well, thanks, Terry. And next on the list we have Carrie.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Kerry Fielding. I am part of the counselling service. I'm usually based at Campbelltown campus, and I've been based at Campbelltown campus for something like 27 years now. Yeah, I know, embarrassing to be so old. But I love it, so that's why I'm still here, right? I have a background in social work. And yeah, master's in terms of couple and family therapy, but lots of years of clinical experience in counselling. And yeah, it's really nice to have been invited along and see you guys in sort of person. I'll see the faces that go with the names. Yeah, so thank you.
Well, you definitely know my face, Kerry. We've known each other about 7 years now. So definitely great to have you here today.
Thank you.
I don't know what's going on with my internet. It's gone weird. Next we have, Stephanie.
Hi, sorry, my video wasn't working for a minute. I'm Steph. I'm doing a degree in nutrition. This is my 4th year of uni now. So yeah, and my 1st year in a representative role. So very happy to be the engagement officer and helping these guys out do their wonderful work. So it's nice to meet you all.
Thanks for that, Steph. I've got an idea. If I'm looking at it
Yeah,
incorrectly.
we'll go to Natalie.
Oh, yeah, Natalie's there.
Yep, I'm here. Hi, everyone. Like Kerry, I've also started at the uni as a child. I've been here over 20 years now, so in various capacities, working my way around. So I've been in this role this is my second year now, which is quite exciting. So I work in the assistive technology team alongside Sally Lego. So we support all students and staff at Western with assistive technology. And prior to that, I was working in the Learning Futures team, which is kind of like the educational portfolio for anyone who's not quite sure of that. So I've kind of had that academic-y kind of side of things, as well as working with the web team and being involved in that over the years as well. So I've got a bit of a grasp of kind of various areas within the university, and it's great to now be alongside working with all of you. So thanks for having us today. Well, myself, Sally's unfortunately unable to make it, so I'm here representing both of us today.
And next, I'd definitely like to introduce Gay to the forum as well.
Hi, my name is Gay Hardwick and I'm a disability advisor. I've been at the university for about 7 years, which apart from Terry makes me the baby of the staff team. So that makes me feel really good. I've worked across many of the campuses, filling in for a lot of people while they went off and had babies. And currently I'm located, well, I should be located at Campbelltown campus. But currently doing a stint from home.
And thanks for that, Kate. And finally, I'd like to introduce Daniel.
Yeah. Daniel, are you there? Okay, I think he must be like listening to us and doing something else, but just to introduce Daniel's currently the SRC postgraduate rep. So he's been in that role now for a little while for this year, but he was also the postgraduate rep within SRC last year as well. And he actually brings a great deal of insight into that particular role and the needs of postgraduate students. So yeah, thanks for coming, Daniel, even though you're listening. Thank you.
We hope he's listening.
Yeah, I was listening. No worries.
Okay. So before,
did you have anything that you wanted to add, Daniel, or did I introduce you okay?
No, nothing to add. Thanks.
thanks to Daniel. So before the introduction out of the way, I'd actually like to welcome both Terry and Gay as our first speakers to give us a breakdown of disability services and what the initiatives are from this point onwards.
You know, Terry and I didn't consult on how we would do this, so that's not very good of us, is it? And I'd seen on the agenda that Terry was going to do an introduction, so I thought, well, that will be Terry, and then, so do you want to just do that, Terry?
Yeah, I just got stuck trying to
and then I'll do
my thing off mute. Sorry, it was
all right. I'll do the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, we were just going to what we thought we'd do is just give people an overview of the service. Most of you will probably know this information, but what we thought we'd do, especially given that you're recording it, is we'd just do a small presentation to go over the services that disability service provide. And then people, can feel free to ask questions as we go along. But we thought if we do it this way, then we can provide you with the presentation afterwards as well. You can share it amongst the collective. And we've got some links into our webpage, and where we've got some videos that we've got a video that was completed early 2020, late 2019, where some students have just talked about their experience with working with the disability service, and then some information from academics as well, just so that people, it's 2 or 3 minutes for each video. We think it's just quite a useful video for people who might not want to read pages and pages. They might just want to hear from a student who's gone through the process to say, okay, yeah, that might work for me. I might get in contact with the disability service. So just giving people different options. So I'll hand over to Gay, and if she can go through the presentation. If anyone's got questions, please either, stop us or send it to us in the chat, and we can answer them in the chat. One thing we just want to say, we probably won't go into, if people have got questions about their own personal circumstances, if they could just, it would just probably be better if we could get an email or make contact with the disability advisor rather than in the larger forum, unless you want to send a private message to myself or Gay. I think we just need to this will be general what we're going to be talking about today, if that's okay with people.
Can I just check that the PowerPoint is shared? You can see it, great. All right. So as Terry said, we just thought we'd share a bit of information, and I first have to start by apologising. I was supposed to include a slide in here that gave you a list of all the disability advisors' names and told you a bit about disability support, and I haven't done it. So I will do that post this event now, and I'll send the presentation on to Robert, and then he can circulate it as required. All right. So let's move on.
I'll just put the names in the chat while you're talking, Gay, just so people can see it at the moment as well.
I'm just trying to work out for some reason, it's not working for me. Just bear with me 1 second. No. Sorry, it's always the way, isn't it? You think you planned everything perfectly and it doesn't work.
Gay, if it doesn't work, do you want me to share my screen?
I'm just, what wouldn't work for me, Terry, was it wouldn't progress. Rightio, we're progressing now. So the disability service, our role is to assist students who have a disability or a chronic health condition to reach their full academic potential. I think the statement, you know, everyone knows that statement. At Western, this is done through an academic integration plan and a lot of negotiation and advocacy that's done on the student's behalf by the disability service in some instances. So this slide just gives you a bit of information about statistics, which I'm sure you all know, but the shocking statistic might be that 4.3% that represents students who have a disability at Western Sydney. Now, we're pretty sure that stat is very incorrect, and perhaps one of the reasons for that stat being incorrect is that students have to declare they have a disability when they do their enrolment. And a lot of students' information that we can see when we establish a file for them doesn't include that box being ticked as having disability. Some people think that they don't want to tick that box because it might impact upon them getting in. But of course, we know that doesn't happen. But one of the things we probably need to try and work on in the future is to get people to tick that box, because that box is what forms our funding from the Commonwealth Government. Doesn't matter how many students we have on our books, if they haven't ticked that box in their enrolment, that's what feeds to the Commonwealth, not our, and we can't change that. So that might be something that we can work collectively with the collective. Oh, that's a good pun, isn't it? To make that happen in the future.
Sorry, Gay, just to let you know, it's still on the disability service first slide. It's not, you haven't got the slideshow going.
Oh, what?
Why is it? Click on from beginning at the top.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. It's moved on my presentation.
Well, what we can do, Gay, is just continue on, and then you can forward it to Robert later and we can circulate it that way around.
Yeah, it just seems a bit of a shame to do that. How about I send it to Terry right now while we're talking, and I can continue to talk on it, and Terry can.
Terry, happy to do that. Yep.
Yep. Just 1 second.
Will do.
Rightio. Get out of that. Rightio. So The next slide is a slide that tells you about what supports are available. When Terry pulls it up, you'll be able to see it, but disability advisors assist students with pre-enrolment advice. So we actually talk with students before they've even selected Western as an area to study. We have a lot of students that come and ask what might Western be able to do for them, and often that is one of the deciding factors as to whether they study with us or not. We put in place reasonable adjustments for assessments. Those assessments can be pre-entry assessments, like for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, they have an assessment they have to do before they come to uni, and we can actually put adjustments in place for that, and for other, you know, pre-entry assessment things that different courses might have. We provide student advocacy and support. We provide disability awareness training to academics and other professional staff. We provide the educational support services. So this is where our disability support team come in place.
Sorry,
And
Gabe, do you want to stop sharing so I can share?
oh, have I not? Oh.
All right.
Sharing is the bane of my life, I got to tell you. Here we go. So if you just jump down to the 4th slide, Terry.
Got it?
Yep. All right. So disability support services. So I know recently somebody asked, oh, who are all these people that you've got in your team? Well, they're the people that provide the note-taking services, the practical assistance services. They also negotiate the in-class tests, bookings and things like that. So they're a very valuable team. There's only, what is there? I think there's one full-time and no, 2 full-time and 2 part-time staff that work in that. One of those part-time staff is dedicated to the college, and the other 2 work across all of the university. And also one of those people, Sue Raquel, is the person that looks after Dipson for us. So Dipson being our system that facilitates our AIP production. And then leading us into, we have academic integration plans and placement plans. So the plan, as you all know, is what the academics get given that tells them what the reasonable adjustments are for specific students. We're going to go on in a minute, and you'll see a copy of a plan. So we'll wait to talk about that more. It's all right, Terry, we'll just stay back there. And then we do referral to other services. So what services, you might ask? Well, once upon a time, assistive technology sat within the disability service, but it was moved out the year before last, and now very proudly it's facilitated by our ITDS team. And so we do the referral to those. We do referral to other wellbeing services, such as our colleagues in welfare and counselling. We do referral to the library supports. That includes electronic text, and it also includes the Study Smart advisors. So if a student has an AIP and it's warranted that they have additional Study Smart sessions, we can negotiate that. That's something that we've worked on over a couple of years as an adjustment we can apply for students. We also do external referrals to external agencies such as mental health services. We have a great working relationship with the University Psychology Clinic for psychometric assessment. Yeah. And then the last point there is around access rooms. So some of you might be aware of access rooms that are on each campus. Access rooms used to be very important for students who used assistive technology, because often they couldn't afford to have that technology on their own computer. But today we provide a lot of licensing for assistive technology on students' computers. So it's not quite as important anymore, but it is still very relevant for students that use specific software, things like screen readers, and also for things like scanning and other technologies that might be very important to students with specific conditions. Next slide. We also provide advice to academics about implementing adjustments. We have, over the last year or two, been investigating a lot of new technologies and looking at how they could be used. A couple of good examples of this is around the Zoom arrangements that were put in place for students last year who had to work with a reader or scribe in their exams online, and because of the social distancing thing, couldn't come into a room with a reader or scribe like they have in the past. And also more recently, we've been looking at this PowerPoint presentation and how academics can provide captions or a voiceover in text onto their PowerPoint presentation. We facilitate the School Disability Coordinators Forum. So I don't know if everyone's aware that each school has a disability coordinator. It's usually an academic, and it's a role that they're given, and they're given a certain release from face-to-face teaching obligations to facilitate this role. The main part of their role is about the coordination and dissemination of information around students' AIPs, but they also are involved in a lot of troubleshooting when it occurs in the school, and the DAs work fairly closely with the SDCs to make that happen. We usually facilitate a forum every twice a year. Last year that went a bit astray with the COVID, and I think we've only just had one earlier this year while I was away. Usually as part of that forum, we do a disability awareness session, and in the past we've done a lot around mental health, and we try to do a presentation that the SDCs can take away and then reuse in their own schools or disseminate via email to their peers as an awareness raising thing. We have this collaboration relationship with the with the examinations team, and that has really come about through trial and error over a number of years, but now every session we have a debrief with them about what's going to happen, what went wrong, and what we can do to improve it for the next session. We also get access to the exam timetable as a whole through a SharePoint site now, which is fantastic. So when we have students come in to ask us, questions about their exam timetable, we don't have to go away and ask questions. And unfortunately, Terry, I can't see the rest of the notes there. So can you scroll that down a little bit? Yeah. And oh yes, the big one we did last year was around the moving all the exams online and having to work very closely with the exams team to make sure that students weren't disadvantaged by that, or try to reduce the amount of impact that had on students. So we've been involved over a number of years with them on an advice role, and when they're changing practices to try and reduce those impacts upon students in the exam situation. I think our next slide is just an example of an AIP and a PIP, a PIP, and it gives you a bit of an idea. I thought this might be really useful for you to share with students who haven't explored using the disability service yet, because it does show them exactly what academics get told about them. And so you can see on both the plans that there's nothing on there that says, this student has an AIP for ABC reason. There's no disclosure of condition. It's just the reasonable adjustments. I always try to lighten the mood a bit with students and say, well, of course, if I put in place a sign language interpreter, someone's going to be able to tell that you have a hearing impairment. Or, if we say you're going to bring a guide dog in, they'll know that you have, that you are blind. But apart from that, there's nothing in your plan that would say why you have those adjustments. The plans are legal documents and therefore are, enforceable. I'm sure the people that sit around me today, the student reps, would be more than aware that we often face very big challenges in making that happen in some circumstances. But having that legal weight behind it is often what the disabilities advisors can use to make sure that the reasonable adjustments are actually enforced. How are they enforced as a legal document? All right. So that's a good one, Vicky. Really what it comes down to is the university sorry, now I'm getting confused. There's answering. I didn't see a first question, so I'm going to ignore the question for a minute and we'll come back to it, all right? We'll just go to our next slide, which is the links to learning information. So I've just popped these links in here because I thought they would be really valuable for you to be able to share with other students. Number one is the inherent requirements. Now, inherent requirements is a tool that should be used by all students, not just students who are registered with the Disability Service. All students should be using the inherent requirements as a tool to see, to measure whether or not they believe they are capable of meeting the requirements of the course. Unfortunately, inherent requirements often get brought to the table when we have a student who has a disability or a health condition and the academics then say, oh, you don't meet the inherent requirements. Well, I think there's a lot of work to be done in that area and a lot of advocacy to be done with both students and academics about what the inherent requirements are for and how they should be used. And it's not for me to say or one of my peers to say, I'm sorry, Fred, you don't meet the inherent requirements. My role is just to encourage students to review them and to come back and discuss it with me if they have any concerns, or to talk to their DAP or their academic course advisor about it. I just saw something pop up then from...
Yeah, I was just mentioning that some courses don't have inherent requirements yet. We as students with disability are told to look for them. It's really hard to do when they don't exist.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I've actually had that problem with advocating for myself as of recent times, that I was told make sure that you meet the IRs of your course. And I found out only after speaking to the DAP that there was no inherent requirements for that course.
Well, in one way that's good because that means there's nothing that needs to be measured against. So usually IRs are
generally not great, Gay, when you've been told for 4 months that you weren't suitable for a course and then there wasn't any inherent requirements.
I agree totally with you. And that why is a school telling students that
it wasn't the
you have
school,
to meet
it was disability services.
I think it's about sometimes it's about the next course as well, though, isn't it? That if you want to do the second course, I think that sometimes if you're doing one course, then you want to move on to a second course. You need to be aware of the second course.
Well, that's the thing. After I had a meeting with the DAPs in regards to that course, there was no issues there. Yet disability services said I was unable and basically unsuitable for that course across the board.
Right.
So I think that needs to be something that disability services leaves with the schools and not disability services.
We have an obligation to make sure that students are aware of the IRs in any possible pathway courses that they might be going to take, because what we don't want, Vicky-Rae, is for students to waste their time doing something that they then
I was
can't.
only told 3 years in, Gay.
Right. Well, then that's not a good example, is it? It really
No,
isn't.
it's really not. It's not
Yeah.
acceptable across the board either.
No, it's not. I agree with that. So we maybe need to take that one offline and have a discussion with Terry about that one. All right.
Yeah, discussions already happened with Terry regarding that. So, yep.
All right. Oh, yeah. I suppose I encourage the collective to think about, you know, promoting that fellow students look at the IRs where they're applicable and to review them and have that discussion early in courses. I've put a link there to the disability webpage for 2 reasons. Number one, so people can have a look at what's on there, but also because there's a link on there to the disability promotional videos that Terry was talking about when we started. There's 2 excellent videos in there that might be really good for you guys to share around. For anyone that's questioning whether they should come to disability services, there's a great one there by fellow students, and a really good one that's been put together by some academics that, you know, talk about how they've worked with disability service to implement adjustments. So we intended to use those videos for exactly that, for peer education, so that the student one to students and the academic one to be shown in academic forums. And the last thing I've just put there is about Opal concession card. I'm really surprised how many students I meet with that have to take a part-time study load because of their condition, and they're not aware of the fact that they're entitled to that concession card.
To piggyback off that, Gay, you also need a letter from Disability Services to give to Opal if you have a concessional study load. If you're not a full-time student, then you cannot receive that Opal concession in any capacity.
In this link here, in the area that's called publications, in this link, there is a form that you can fill out. It's a Western form, and you fill out the top of it and you take the centre to your medical practitioner, and they certify that due to your condition you can't take on a full load, and then it comes back to Terry, and Terry signs it on behalf of the university, and then it goes through Student Central and it's sent to Opal Card, and then everything is fixed. So I wanted to promote that to you guys so that you can then take it out to your peers. All of that I just said is in the notes on this PowerPoint, Robert, so you'll be able to pick it up. And unfortunately, where that form is on our website isn't ideal, and I'll have a chat with Terry about whether we can pull it out and make it more prominent, because it's sort of hidden in that publication section, but it might really improve student access if we can. All right, I think that's the end of our presentation, and I think I've probably taken more than my 15 minutes.
You're right, Kay, because with examinations not being able to come, you had a bit longer.
Oh, good. So, all right, what do you want to do with the questions that came into the chat, Robert?
Just let me stop sharing.
Oh, nearly lost them. No, when you start sharing, the questions go from one side to the other.
Oh, sorry. No,
you're right. So I think Vicky has a very good point with the first one, because I haven't seen this personally happen to me, but I have seen it happen to other students where we've had academics, not senior academics like DAPs or ACAs, but we've had tutors and some lecturers have a student tell them got an ARP, and they've basically gone, well, so what, does an ARP mean you're slower than everyone else and I've got to give you more time and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, with those tutors and lecturers, because that is discriminatory against people with disabilities, if that was investigated, would they have to, would they then have to do a mandatory course to actually address that problem?
I'd really like to say yes, but unfortunately that's not in our control. But if it's something that you're seeing frequently and it's been reported to you frequently, perhaps you need a mechanism to be able to report that back to whoever's appropriate, whether it be Terry or whether it be someone in the academic area.
Yeah, because it's been going on 4 years now, guys. So it's like ever since I started with the Disability Collective, it's been an ongoing issue with students getting told that you don't need accommodations, you're just lazy.
Can I just
Right.
clarify as well while we've got Terry and Gay in, because this does come up when students come through to me and say what their kind of AIP lists and what they're allowed to use and all that kind of thing. As I understood it, is it that their unit coordinator is advised of all the AIPs, and it is the unit coordinator that then alerts specific academics if that student is within their class? That's kind of the process, isn't it?
It is the process.
But
But
yeah, I have heard of a few students, and this is a thing that they feel like they're continuously asking for these accommodations. And unfortunately, one of the students I recently saw said that she felt like it was like as if she was cheating because she was asking for these accommodations. And I said to her, look, that's not actually the process. Like, if you're comfortable to ask the academic or remind them, you know, whether it's wearing the lapel mic or whatever they particularly need. But I just did want to clarify that it was the unit coordinator who then told their academics, because it kind of lets them know that I think you need to be assured that there is a process. And like you were saying, Terry and Gay, if it's not working, then Vicky and Robert, then there should be some kind of mechanism for students to advise you, so then you can collate that and it can be addressed, because it could be something where something's just missed that can be rectified quite quickly, or it could lead to a pattern that can be then addressed. But I think it is important to pick up on that. But thanks. I just did want to make sure I was referring that correct advice along to students.
In regards to that mechanism that we can work on, I'd actually like to work with Terry on this one, because we need something in place, because it's not all lecturers, not all tutors. The ones I've had, they've been fantastic. And I'll say this, I've been lucky in a way by doing podiatry. We've only got 3 staff members, so there's not much room for problems there.
But in saying that too, we've seen the tangible difference between humanities and health sciences in ways that ARPs are actually distributed. Also the way that they're actually implemented by the staff as well, like very much relies largely on which school you're in, and that's disappointing.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask Terry, because I know that I think lecturers have to, but I'm not sure tutors have to. They have to go through mandatory training before they start at the university, includes their provision of AIPs and everything like that. I'm just wondering, is that a yearly thing, or like that they have to do, and can it be like, and why is it only strictly to lecturers and not to like part-time tutors and stuff like that?
I think it may be just when they first start, Pauline, rather than yearly. I to be honest, that bit I don't know. Dave may know, but
there's a training that's called AIP nuts and bolts, right? It's a very practical training about why we have AIPs and how to implement them. It is not mandatory.
Oh, okay.
It is a recommended, and some schools would enforce the doing of it, and other schools, I can't comment on that. I can't comment on who does and who doesn't enforce it, but I know that not everybody does it.
But what can we do as a collective to basically advocate for that to become mandatory, so it is done across the board? Because that's the thing, that if we're having schools and academics that don't know how to implement ARPs, which you've said, Gay, is a legal document, that's concerning. It really needs to be mandatory for them to be able to know exactly what they're doing and in being able to actually implement them to the highest degree that they should be.
Yeah, so like, because as you pointed out, like AIPs are legal documents. So if like they are not trained to properly administer the AIPs, are they like breaking the law, and could they be like held on discriminatory charges?
It could be investigated, Pauline, definitely. I don't know how far it would go because I've never been involved in a case like that. So I honestly couldn't, and I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say yes or no. But I do agree that it's something that's really important, and we've been talking about it in our meetings recently as a team as well. And we're looking into ways to approach it at the university, who we should go to, who we can recommend that people start to include it in the training when lecturers first start at the university, because I think it's important to get people at the very beginning. If we get them at the beginning, we're more likely to bring them along the journey with us. About mandatory training overall, I honestly, I'm not sure who makes those decisions at this university. Obviously, it probably sits with Academic Senate, I would imagine. And all we can do is we could take it up to Ellen and ask her to raise it on our behalf. And I think it is a valid point to raise again, because I'm sure it's been raised in the past. You know, like
For many years,
yeah,
many years.
We can advocate again, and we'd already, like I said, we were speaking about it again in our team meeting just recently, because we're seeing that some academics are saying, I'm not sure what to do. And if they've got, and we do refer them to it, but we can't make decisions on obviously mandatory training, but we can advocate on our services behalf and on behalf of the students, definitely.
So there'd be 2 points that I would suggest that the collective, or 3 points actually, that the collective could assist with on this. Would be, number one would be to gather that information and provide it to Terry if that's deemed appropriate, or wherever it's decided it should go, but also to encourage those students to go to their disability advisor and raise their concerns, because if we don't know about it, we don't know, that it's not happening for that.
That's the thing, Gay, that it has gone back to DAs historically.
Rightio.
And nothing has changed in that sphere whatsoever. That's why I'm thinking that if this training is not compulsory and not mandatory, then that's where the gap lies.
We need to identify those patterns, Vicky, right? So if we can
honestly, I have it all if you would like it again.
All right. So if we can identify those patterns, then we could target specific schools. So I met with a deputy dean from a school which probably isn't of concern a few weeks ago, and he said to me, Gay, if you hear of any of my academics doing something wrong, just tell me and I'll make sure it's fixed. So, we could have that discussion with a lot of deputy deans, and that could be something that Terry could be doing, or allocating to someone else within the team to do. But we can't do it if we don't know about it, all right? And the other thing is, if the student is saying, oh, my tutor doesn't know about it, right? So that's the person that probably should know. If they've got an in-class test and they've got to have adjustments for it, the tutor should know about it. Well, then the student could send their AIP to that tutor and make them aware. I have an AIP, here's a copy of it. If you want to discuss it, you could talk with my disability advisor. And then it's proactive on your behalf, the student's behalf, self-advocating, which can be really very valuable, especially if you get an outcome that you want. Yeah. What do you think about that?
A lot of the time that gets you nowhere, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I've had that issue. Like, I've had one unit text and traditions that I've failed 3 times now, and I've given them my ARPs for the accommodations for that unit multiple times, and I've sent it to the lecturer, I've sent it to the tutor, I've had like my DA speak to them, and it changed nothing.
So, all right, maybe this discussion needs to go outside of here, because it's going to get a bit personal.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be really messy.
Yeah, we need to explore, why is that happening, and is it because adjustments aren't in place? And if it is, well then.
Well, that's the thing. It's not just me. It's also other students within that particular unit.
For
and
sure.
it's just been something that I've seen as a recurrent issue going on, that generally when the complaints come through in regards to ARPs not being met, it's always that particular unit within humanities.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that there's probably something going on with that particular academic or the way that unit's actually being taught.
You're on
Just
mute, Robert.
sorry, just coming in as a bit of an outsider perspective here, because luckily I'm in a position where I haven't had really anything to do with this, and I haven't needed to call upon these services personally. But from what I've heard, it just sounds like quite an inconsistent process for a lot of people and across all the schools. And it sounds like a bit of a messy situation for a lot of students and for a lot of schools and for disability association as well, to try and bring everything together. Would it be best to be proactive on the disability collective side of things, to perhaps send an email through to voice the concerns that we're hearing from students, that our members are having personally, and then, you know, in an email capacity, tell you what kind of schools they're having issues with, and maybe make some suggestions for changing that policy so that we can put consistency in order, and then perhaps leave that policy change up to you guys. So, you know, then we're having our input. You guys are the ones that have the final say, because you know the people higher up, you know how the system works, but just so we're kind of working together to be proactive about this, and so that we're actually, you know, making change rather than sitting here and kind of going back and forth, which isn't really a productive conversation at this point.
I would agree, Stephanie. It'd be great if, like Robert said, if the two of us could work together. Let's talk about it outside of the forum, and how we can get a process in place, and how we can then bring it, you know, forward. So, Robert, I think if we can have a meeting, we'll arrange a meeting just separately. That would be, and then we'll go from there. And then you can report back to the collective, and I'll report back to the team. How does that sound?
I've already put it as an action item.
Good.
So just being a bit mindful of time.
Yes. Yeah.
I just realised Kerry's been waiting about 45 minutes. So I might actually introduce Kerry at this stage, so we can get Kerry to introduce us about counselling services. It was great, all the information that both Gay and Terry had, because there's a lot of information I think a lot of our students didn't have, and now we can actually create a working team to actually get these discriminations out of the way and start kicking butt for disabilities, so to speak.
Sorry, Robert, just a quick question. I know someone mentioned earlier about the chat. Is that going to be posted on your Facebook side or collated in some way so members can see it who weren't able to attend?
Oh, this the forum?
Yeah.
Yep, we're actually recording it, and I'm going to be writing I can't think of the word, a written summary of the whole forum.
Yeah, and then I'll help him put it through as a newsletter through to the collective as well.
Great.
So, yeah.
You mean minutes, Rob?
Hmm?
You mean minutes? Meeting minutes?
Yeah, I always take minutes anyway.
Yep, okay.
Yep. So at this point, I'd actually like to introduce Kerry from Counselling to give us an insight on counselling for this year.
Thanks, Rob. Okay, I'm hoping that my PowerPoint's going to go more smoothly than yours, Gay. Can someone just give me an indication? Is it showing up as like the full screen, or is it like the notes view?
Full screen. Looks great.
It's all right so far. It's just when we try to change pages, maybe, right? All right, let's see how we go. Yeah, so I'm from the counselling service, as I said before, and I will give you a bit of a rundown on what we do and our new initiatives as we go along. Okay, so maybe I'm preaching to the converted, I don't know, but I'll just run through it all anyway. A lot of this information would be able to be found on our counselling website, which of course, if you go to the student view of the homepage and into support services, scroll down, you'll find the counselling thing. We'll put counselling into the quick links to find all of our resources there. So I guess counselling is part of a suite of support services that the university provides to its students. It is part of your student contribution fees, and so all students are entitled to use the services and should make good use of them as they require. We aim to support students to achieve their academic goals, while at the same time navigating life and what life can throw up, because that's sometimes unpredictable and can get in the way of our best intentions. We offer an opportunity for students to talk to someone objective and impartial about whatever it is that's impacting on them and their progress. We offer you an opportunity to be heard and opportunities for support. We're not a long-term counselling service, and that's become more apparent in terms of staffing numbers and numbers of requests for counselling. We tend to operate in a brief therapy model, which restrains us to a smaller number of sessions per student. So anyone with complex or ongoing needs for support, we would be looking to help them to find an appropriate external service that can support them more longer term, while we perhaps look at the interface between those experiences that they may be having and university in terms of special consideration needs or extensions, that type of thing. We also will advocate on behalf of students within the university community as required, or externally as required. I guess, yeah, the whole thing though is around helping students to develop the skills and strategies to be able to navigate their issues and to maximise their well-being overall. Next slide. Okay, this is just one of those word clouds, I think they're called, right? Of some of the things that people bring to counselling. So it's a really broad and varied scope of issues that people present with, because we are like a micro community of the broader community. So we cross paths with lots of different concerns, and well aware that often what any of us show to the world is the tip of the iceberg, maybe the bit that looks like it's all smooth sailing on top, but underneath there can be other complex and varied issues that will arise from time to time, or may be longer standing issues. And I guess where they need to be looked at. Sorry, I've got to turn my page over. Yeah, we hope to provide you with a safe space where that can take place. And if we're not the right people to assist with those issues, certainly assist you to find those services that can help with those things. Oops, gone the wrong way. All right. So we're a group of qualified social workers and psychologists, our team. We have, I think at last count, I think we have the equivalent of around 13 full-time positions with our staffing. So some people, of course, aren't full-time. Majority of our team, work with different permeations of a full-time position. So there's probably around 16 or 17 actual bodies that fill those 13 positions at the current time. We have been, of course, with COVID, operating on work from home for the whole of last year. We've been back in our offices in a sort of transition period since when? I think it was February, feels like forever. So at the moment, it's Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays where we are on campus, but for the majority of time we have still been, well, up until next week, basically we have been doing all of our work through telehealth, so online or Zoom appointments and phone appointments. As from next week, I believe we will still keep those the Wednesday and Friday as the work from home days, but on Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I think. May have this wrong. But on some days of the week when we're on campus, if people really need that face-to-face contact, we'll try to accommodate that as we phase back into provision of service. So that's
look there, Kerry. It's Tuesday and Thursday.
right. It is Tuesday and Thursday. I thought I might have been leaving Monday out just because I don't work Monday. So I thought, did I just switch off and think it doesn't matter what's happening Monday because Monday is my day off every week. Thanks.
I'll take it. Yeah, Tuesday and Thursday. We'll have that availability.
Excellent. Yeah, and I guess our priority has been around staffing being at the main campuses. By that, Parramatta South, Parramatta City, Kingswood, Bankstown, Campbelltown and Hawkesbury, I believe, whereas the smaller campuses, students that needed face-to-face would be asked to perhaps travel to one of those other locations just while we get used to coming back and things go back to normal. I think that was all I need to say about that. Okay. It's a little video. I don't know whether it's 6 minutes long. It's something that was done by some students. What do people think about me playing this? Or would you rather I skipped it, given that we've got limited?
Well, we can see if it works, Kerry, and go from there.
I could decide for us. I'm feeling confident. I'm going to press the button. Yeah.
We can't see it, Kerry.
Yeah, we can hear it, but it's not clicking over.
Oh, okay. So I don't know why that is.
It's because you're in Zoom. There's a particular way to do it, and I can't help you. I just know there's a particular way that you do it, but when you're in Zoom, maybe if you
share the link for it, Kerry, and then we can open it ourselves.
Yeah. Or you can stop sharing the presentation and go to the link yourself and try and share it that way.
Okay.
Kerry, when you share screen, the first option in the top left-hand corner, that's actually for the screen that you're working from. So if you need to flip between screens, it's always good to share the first option when you share screens. That might help.
I didn't quite get that.
That's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to just hopefully find my way of getting out of this and back to the main screen. This video is on the counselling website, and it's there, and the name of it, mental health, has never been more important. So anybody that's listening to the recording, or any of you guys, can visit it on your own. I guess just in summary of it, it's just around that idea of destigmatizing for students counselling services and mental health, because as far as we've come with those things, there's still such a long way to go. And the idea of students being comfortable to talk about their experiences with mental health and with seeking counselling support, we hope encourages other people to have the courage to try that and see if that can be something for them. So I'm just going to move on without the video. I was feeling confident there. I could see it. I could hear it. I was starting to feel like a bit of an IT wizard, but oh well. It's not going to happen. All right. So, and if I come now to this one. So we do our, our regular type of counselling, which is, our face-to-face or our online telehealth sessions. But we're also trying to continue to build other resources that students can use for self-help purposes, or to access different types of media that, we're thinking that students might be interested in. So our daily and weekly session planners have been around for a long time, but such a helpful tool for students each semester to set up that sort of thing in terms of getting organised and managing their time effectively. We've got quite a lot of relaxation and mindfulness sessions on our website that students can listen to. We have e-counselling, which I'll talk to a little bit later. Looks like we've got relaxation recordings written down twice on that slide. That's how good they are. Thought I'd tell you about them twice. We, up until last year, we had the dog cafe, which was a real winner, I think, with the students. Everyone loved coming and sort of sitting around and patting the dogs, and Gay's dog even made an appearance at Campbelltown campus, I know, because she's got a lovely dog that's a therapy dog. That is looking to continue, but to be run by other services than the counselling service. I think maybe Connect will be following up with that one when it's safe to do so. We have the Wellbeing and You podcasts, which are fairly new, and what they cover, it's a broad range of topics, but it it sort of goes into the getting to know the team and sort of what the counsellors do, or sort of behind some of the other offerings that we have. So it's a nice way to get a little bit more of an insight into who the team are and what values we kind of operate from. We also offer workshops and other online resources. Workshops, of course, been at a bit of a standstill, like everything over this last year. But things like academic preparation types of programs for mature age students, that's something that we try to run regularly, and we participate in what's it called, the academic literacy program at the beginning of the year as well. Oh, the other thing before I talk about this is on views. We have a study, money and life skills. So every student is registered for that on views, and that's a range of short workshops, I suppose, that people can view. They've got ideas of managing certain things. Time management is one of those things as well. Oh, there's a whole lot of topics. We've also moved to this idea of videos on demand. So there's a series of little Powtoons, I think they're called. Things like time management, self-compassion, dealing with anxiety or memory blanks in exams, mindfulness, procrastination, the dream of, Jen getting started right away, so that's all things that students can have a bit of a look at by themselves and maybe pick up some tips, or if they're wanting more, directs them back to our services. And something that's very new on the website that sort of fits under this category, some webinars that we've been starting to do, and they're about a 10-minute snapshot, I suppose, on different topics. At the moment, there's one on public speaking, and there's also one on tolerating distress, which, dare I say, is excellent. I didn't do it, so I guess I can say that. My colleague Paula Diab presents that one, and there's some really great strategies in there that students can pick up and use in terms of tolerating distress and discomfort in its many forms, whether that be around pain or whether that be around thoughts and strong emotions. So some interesting, useful resources that are there. In our sessions, we can refer students back to using those, but we can also sort of direct students through e-counselling to access those things as well. Away again. Okay, e-counselling. It's been around for about 5 years. Probably you will know about e-counselling. It's not a crisis service by any means because it only operates within working hours. So we discourage anyone, in a crisis to use that as their only form of connecting. But it gives students a chance to email their concerns in if they're not certain about talking to someone, or they just don't think they have the time, we as a team, we share the responsibility for answering those emails each day. And it's often a pathway to our other counselling services for students. So people that have maybe concerns that seem, you know, more complicated than just wanting some information, we would ask them if they would like to make it an appointment and encourage that connection with somebody on their campus. There's also a whole lot of depersonalized questions that sit on the e-counselling section of our webpage, which are really sort of common themes that maybe students ask about. So by providing those answers there, it's hoped that people might see what they're looking for and be able to find a solution or find the right person to help them. I can't go the right way today. Okay, another thing, Talk Campus app. That's something new this year. It's something that's been introduced by the university. It's not something that's directly connected to the counselling service. It's like it's an app you download from the App Store, and you can register using your Western Sydney email. It's an opportunity to connect with other students from universities and colleges around the world who might be having similar experiences, and also just, I think, is of benefit in terms of the connection it provides for people that may be feeling isolated and just wanting to connect with somebody else and share their experiences or feel part of something bigger than themselves. It's also got some multilingual functions, so people, I assume, can connect in their own language or their preferred language to use that. There is some capacity for anybody who is perhaps in crisis to then be referred back to our service as required. So we've seen that happen already since it's been introduced. It's a way then we can offer that student support if they want it. Okay, sitting alongside of the counselling team is the mental health and wellbeing team. The manager of that team is Emma Taylor, which I assume most of you would know or have heard of. And under her, there are the assessment and referral team, or the ART team that we sometimes call them. So the manager of counselling, is Nicole Church, and Emma is the manager of this service. The assessment and referral team, that came about, I guess, as a way of reducing waiting times for students that needed urgent assistance through counselling. So anybody that, so people would ring in to make an appointment or email us, they're offered the next available appointment time. If that waiting time seems too long, then the students can be referred to the assessment and referral team. If it seems like it's a critical, urgent situation, they will assess the situation and then refer them on either back to our team or to external resources or other support teams in the university. It helps students to get to the person that they need the help from more directly, as opposed to perhaps coming for a counselling appointment and we're going, oh, well, you really needed to go to welfare or disability for that sort of stuff. It saves them time. They do other work, of course, in terms of guiding strategy and policy within the university, and really this idea of promoting student wellbeing. So through early intervention and I guess workshops for staff and students about how to improve wellbeing. Okay, I made it to the end. So if anyone has any questions, or if any questions went into the chat, someone can let me know.
Oh, Harry, you know me very well, and you know I've always got questions.
Damn you, Robert.
Biggest question I've got, And I think a few people in here, and I know I'm going to ask this question, it's about Talk Campus. Now, I actually asked Ellen about this and she said she was going to look into it. But coming from as a student as a non-psychology background and a social background, what's counselling's thoughts on the fact if a student uses this service to help themselves, what are your thoughts if another student actually tries to take advantage of this service and try and act like a counsellor to try and further their degree or something like that?
Okay. So I don't, like I said, I don't know much about the Talk Campus thing. I believe there would be facilitators within such an app, because that's, when I said that we got a referral back of somebody who had sort of expressed suicidal ideation and needed to be met with to sort of check out their safety. So I do believe that in subscribing to the service, the university must have a level of belief that there are suitable structures within that, that anything that is inappropriate is noticed by a moderator or a facilitator. But I mean, I guess in any sort of forum like that, sometimes if you look at, say, Beyond Blue, for example, I'm not sure how theirs works either, but sometimes when I've looked at the sorts of discussions that happen in there, other people will give advice based on their own experiences, but you would hope that anybody using such a forum would know that it is general advice offered by somebody who's going off their own, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. And I'm sure there's probably some fine print somewhere that says that. Does that answer what you're asking, Robert?
It does. Yeah, I think I was mainly wanting to ask counselling that question because as much as Ellen has a lot of information about it, well, she's not a counsellor, if that makes sense. So I'd rather get it straight.
Yeah, I know Nicole Church was, she was involved in discussions around it. I wasn't party to those discussions. I just know that it's now a thing. And
yeah, because I do know that one of the concerns that Robert's had also is that if students do use it for that particular circumstance where they're trying to basically be impromptu counselors, like try out all these theories that they've learned in class, then the thing is that counselling services will be basically frontline to anything that happens as a circumstance of that, basically. So that was our main concern when the university chose to pick up this particular piece of software for that purpose. Like, we can fully understand that they're looking at a 24/7 accessibility option for students, but we're just worried about the fallout.
Yeah. So it's kind of that liability issue for the university. Yeah, I don't know. That's not something that we've talked about as a team. I'm happy just to have a conversation with Nicole around that, just to see what she knows, if anything about that. I certainly would hope that all of that's been factored into it. I mean, it's a worldwide thing.
Involved in the discussion. I wasn't involved in the discussions about Talk Campus, just had kind of heard some things about it, and I know it was a very kind of elaborate process to get that stood up, so it would have needed to go through legal, all of the relevant processes, and I guess ticking off certain boxes to do our best to ensure any risk and safety kind of things. There's procedures in place for that. But yeah, I know Nicole would have much more information about it.
Hello, my name's Daniel. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
It's unrelated what's been said. So, so is the counselling service part of welfare student support?
part of student support.
Yeah, is it or not?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So so Terry me said, so you people advocate and tell us, where we should be going. In my instance, I had a problem with a unit, and I got told to write to the Ombudsman Service, and I've spoken to Richard Martino, who's running the SRC in student engagement, and he said they shouldn't have done that. You should, I should contact welfare student support again, and try and get them to advocate for me with the school. So, what do you think of that? I mean,
look, I mean, I guess generally speaking, I think there are processes and procedures that should be followed if there is some form of, I'm not sure what the situation was for you, and you're not expected to disclose that. But if there's some form of complaint, I suppose, that wasn't being addressed at the university, it should be dealt with through those channels of going up within the school, if that's appropriate, or to say the complaints unit if there's
I went to the complaints unit, and it was sort of stalled, but then I've been passed on to the school, and I've got a couple of people involved. But this happened at the end of 2019, and nothing's been resolved. And I've transferred my course. I've changed from a grad dip to a master's, and someone's noticed, when they're doing my transfer, that there's that issue there, and he's noted it. So that's helped me. So sooner or later, I'm going to have to chase it up. But I don't think going to the Ombudsman, because I got a request from the Deputy Dean not to go to the Ombudsman and that, before I write anything. But I've already sat down one weekend and write 20 pages of what I think is wrong with the unit. But and also, just for example, my exam, there were 6 questions, and I didn't do the last question because the clock wasn't working. And they've accepted that, and they said they're going to give me another task, but just nothing's happened, and a whole year's gone by.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Ombudsman serve a role, but perhaps that wasn't the appropriate advice for that situation. But if you're needing someone to help to advocate around those issues, you're welcome to come back, talk to someone in the counselling service one-to-one, or maybe even the welfare service, Amanda. Like we both do a bit of that advocacy work.
It's just about getting someone else involved, because just me, telling them what's wrong or what's going on. It seems like I'm trying to cause a war, and maybe someone else sees it, then they say, "Oh yeah, you're right, Daniel. Let's approach them, and get something happening." Yeah. Because Richard Martino, he thought it was like that, but I did email the welfare student support again, and they said no, go to the Ombudsman. But maybe another office like Texas was more appropriate, because I was arguing about the quality of the unit itself.
And I think it's important, like for me, it's important to communicate, to say, from a student welfare service perspective, there's going to always be situations where we can't say, this is right or this is wrong. All we can do is point the student or advocate in the right areas to try and get that issue resolved as best as possible. We can never guarantee, an outcome to be a certain way, but we can certainly do our best to, put forward concerns, and aim for the best resolution. So, and again, it really it depends on where student welfare refers students to. It depends on the circumstance. And I'm not, like Kerry said, we're not expecting you to disclose anything here. I don't think it's, the right platform now. But, there are instances where we have referred students to the Ombudsman because that is the correct process, you know, under the university policy. So yeah, it all depends on the circumstances.
Yep.
Yeah,
Amanda, would you be happy if we, just for the sake of time, connect you with Daniel after the forum?
Yeah,
just so
sure, Vicky.
they can
Yeah,
continue
I'll
those
chase them
convos?
up. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
No worries.
that's perfectly fine. Yeah, and I can get you linked in with one of our welfare officers.
Very much
I-
appreciate that.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to mention, because the Ombudsman seemed like, you know, too far out of the university, because I also spoke to the Vice Chancellor on the issue, and he said, yeah, go to the school and work it out. And yeah, I'll let it go there. Thanks, Vicky. Yeah, good idea.
On that note, I really want to thank Kerry for her input and everything that she's actually presented to us today. And I'd actually like to introduce Amanda and from welfare, and to give us an introduction on welfare and how that's going to progress for students this year.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me along. So yeah, as Robert introduced me, I'm from the Student Welfare Service, and you might have gathered that just from the little conversation we were having. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to share my screen for a bit of a welfare service rundown. I thought it might be practical to actually look at our best source of truth, which is our webpage, where you can always refer to information that we have on who we are, what we do, and how to contact us. So I know one of the things on the agenda was, you know, how do you contact welfare? Who are the welfare officers for each campus? We do have that on our welfare webpage. So, you know, we've got our generic email address, which is always very helpful, you know, if you don't know who to contact. We've got our phone number, where you can call to make an appointment or, you know, make a general inquiry. And then we've got all our welfare officers with our all our welfare officers, what campuses they work across, and their direct email there. So that is a very, very handy point of reference. So student welfare, and you'll see from like our webpage, we, you know, do a variety of things. Look, we're a bit of a jack of all trades. We support students anywhere from, you know, like the support ranges from, you know, support and advocacy around university related processes and procedures, through to financial assistance for emergency situations, and any accommodation issues that a student might be having. We do support students who are facing homelessness, you know, and linking in them with emergency accommodation, other relevant support, you know, planning for the future in terms of, you know, longer term accommodation options and all of those kind of things. A big body of our work is around international students. International students, I guess, require a unique level of support because they're in Australia on a student visa. So there's certain obligations that a student on a student visa have to meet in terms of their enrolment and university progression. Where a student is unable to maintain compulsory enrolment due to, you know, extenuating circumstances or academic reasons, international students need to come to the Student Welfare Service for any kind of approval regarding leave or, you know, taking a reduced study load if they can't enroll in a full-time load. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do on top of supporting the student through those processes, but also making sure that the university does on their end, you know, the right procedures in terms of, you know, recording leave, recording reduced study load, liaising with academics about, you know, various things to do with the student's confirmation of enrolment which impacts on their visa. So that's probably more a bit of just a point of interest, really, I'm guessing. But that is a big part of our work, particularly around census dates as well. We have quite a volume of international students contacting in regards to that. Back along the financial lines, we do provide financial assistance for students who are facing extenuating circumstances. It's via an application process. Students need to provide documentation to evidence their circumstances and evidence their financial situation. So traditional welfare financial assistance is generally for, one-off expenses, things like, weren't able to work due to placement, therefore, got behind in rent. My landlord's not happy now, so, I need a bit of help, to make up the rent, or, relying on a car for uni attendance, placement, car rego's due, but just had to pay a large medical bill, so I can't afford the car rego. So any kind of, expense that comes up that will impact on the student's ability to continue studying. When COVID hit us last year, we had a large, very significant amount of international students in situations where they lost their jobs very, very suddenly. They weren't able to afford their basic living expenses, food and a roof over their head. So the university responded to that by establishing the Student Assistance Fund. So there is an application for international students, and there's also an application for local students as well. So the student assistance team was established, and half of our welfare officers actually moved over into that team for last year. So at the end of last year, we kind of really moved from a crisis response to more sustained financial hardship. Since the end of last year, Student Assistance Fund has now integrated into the Student Welfare Service, so we're managing those applications as well. Currently, we are applications for COVID support are open for autumn session, and we've got applications rolling in primarily from international students who either still haven't regained work after the pandemic, or their parents are in situations where businesses back home have closed, unfortunate deaths in the family of sponsors and those kind of things. So if you're aware of any international students who are impacted in that way, we do have the COVID applications still open and running. All of that information is on our webpage. So yeah, all of that is there and the links to the COVID applications. There's some information on food support, and up here we've got information on our textbook support program. Textbook support applications for autumn actually closed on census date, so we don't have those applications open anymore. The idea around that is, we're now quite a few weeks into session. Students should have their texts or sort support by this time. But if there is any concerns around affordability of text, being able to purchase text, students can contact our general welfare email, and we can look at what's happening and how we might be able to support. But generally speaking, with textbook support, students need to submit an online application. and outline the prescribed textbooks that they're requiring for the session. The application is assessed based on the student's evidenced income and the textbooks required. And for the very first time this session, we actually issued support to students via a virtual MasterCard, which could be spent at these retailers here. We're looking to expand that list moving into spring, just from some learnings that we had with the first rollout of using the virtual MasterCard. Previous to that, we were purchasing texts on students' behalf and getting them posted to their home address. It was really good for many students, but also problematic when, you know, Booktopia was out of stock of a particular text, and we had there wasn't an easy way to keep track of, you know, whose text was where and all of those kind of things. So we came up with a bit of a better solution to that. So when a student is approved for textbook support, they've actually got, you know, the autonomy to be able to manage the purchases themselves and follow up with bookshops with delayed orders and those kind of things. So that was really successful this session. There were far fewer issues than our previous approach. So we're looking forward to, keeping that going into spring this year, sorry. Don't know why I'm still stuck in 2020. But generally speaking, along the lines of financial assistance, anything that comes up in a student study where, you know, they're stressed by finances or something unexpected has come up and there's, you know, question around being able to continue studies due to finances, we really encourage a student to get in contact with us so we can unpack the situation, see what's going on, help where we can help, and also refer students to, you know, other supports that might be relevant also. If you're interested, there's a whole section on international student support there as well. You know, talked a bit about advocacy. On the advocacy lines, Welfare do a lot of supporting students through processes like special consideration, review of grade, progression matters. So if students get notice about conditional enrolment or exclusion, we can guide students through the appeals process. And also, you know, obviously, you know, in that process, we're getting an understanding of circumstances that a student's been through which have impacted on their studies. So we make those appropriate referrals for support and provide whatever support that we can. Misconduct matters. We can support students through that process, academic or non-academic. We can go to misconduct meetings with students as a support person. That's something that we do quite frequently. We do ask that we're provided with plenty of notice so that we can attend those meetings. Sometimes we get requests like on the day of the meeting or the day before. And of course we accommodate where we can, but sometimes it's just not possible because, you know, everyone's had their appointments booked out for the day, or, you know, we're not in the office for the day, or those kind of things. So the earlier notice that we have, the better about those things. Any kind of, you know, advocacy in relation to, you know, tenancy, Centrelink, those kind of things, we can do. By the term advocacy in that respect, I mean it in the way of, you know, making inquiries on a student's behalf with their permission or with the student, so supporting them with that, equipping them with all the relevant information that they need to pursue a particular matter, providing support letters where relevant, all of those kind of things. The other particular thing I wanted to mention is support for student carers. We have a support framework established that supports students who are caring for somebody that's recognised under the Carers Recognition Act. So if a student is caring for somebody that has a disability, a chronic health condition, there is this support framework that they can access. So if a student is eligible, we issue a carers verification statement, and that carers verification statement can be used by a student as evidence for change of tutorial and requesting an extension on an assignment on the first occasion. So this page here outlines what the support is, eligibility, how to apply, and how to use the carers verification statement if they're issued with one. Just to reiterate, because they're the key messages I wanted to give today. And just to reiterate, you can contact any of our welfare officers, the generic email, and somebody will get back to you. Just as an FYI, we've been incredibly busy since the beginning of last year in response to COVID. While things have settled a bit, we still have a high volume of students coming through our service. So if we don't get back straight away, don't be discouraged. Somebody will get back to you as soon as possible. Unfortunately, we just in most circumstances, unless it is something really extenuating and urgent, we may not be able to respond, within a business day or two. So just hold tight. We do monitor for really urgent things. So yeah, we'll always get in contact as soon as we can. Can I throw it out there for any questions?
I'm just wondering at the moment, Amanda, when it comes to appointments with welfare at this point in time, is that face-to-face or via Zoom still?
Still online only. So across wellbeing services, which Kerry mentioned, as of Thursday next week, we will be taking face-to-face appointments on a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Okay, cool. Would students still have the opportunity to do it via Zoom if they choose to? Yep.
We very much encourage that. So when students call our central booking number, the 1300 number, our client services assistants are going to firstly offer the opportunity for a phone or a Zoom appointment. So we prefer that, and that way, everyone can stay as safe as possible. But of course, where a face-to-face appointment, there's an expression of need for that. We can account for that as of Thursday next week.
For sure. Is there any idea what the turnaround at the moment is between actually lodging something with the welfare office and receiving an appointment?
Look, appointments you can generally get, within a couple of days. Yep. Our general welfare email, we sense the state approaching. We were 5 days behind at one point. We've caught up now where we're getting through the emails from yesterday. But yeah, in the last 12 months, depending on the volume at the time, it's ranged from, a response on the same day to, a response 5 working days later. But we do monitor for anything that we think, no, that can't wait. This needs to be addressed ASAP.
So everything gets triaged. Yep.
Yep, it does. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Amanda.
No worries.
I'd definitely like to thank Amanda for all the information she's given. I do have a question about carers, but I might email you that question.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
no problem. Yep.
Because I'm just running a tiny bit behind time.
Yeah.
But
no
also it's going to be a very long question.
No problem. Feel free to contact me.
Yep.
And I might have to jet because I've got another meeting to get into. But thank you for organising and thank you for your time.
No, thank you for your time. And just like, last but not least, going to introduce Natalie from forgot the word, Assistive Technology. And yep, so I'd like to welcome Natalie.
Great, thanks so much for that, Robert. I'm just going to share my screen and I just want to double check that you can see a nice big assistive technology, or are you seeing notes? What can you see? You can see it okay? Generally,
notes.
you can see
Notes as
notes.
well.
Yep.
No, that's not the one we want then. This is why I want to check. There we go. Now we're right.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. Awesome. Excellent. You think I'd have learnt from everybody today, but no, I haven't. So I want to try and speed through this because I know I'm last on the list with exams not turning up. So thank you for inviting Assistive Technology along to this, I think, the inaugural Forum of Inclusion. So thank you for that, Robert and Vicky. I'm representing the Assistive Technology team at Western today. Together with my colleague Sally Lego, we provide assistive technology services to all students at staff at Western. So today I'm going to go just a bit of an introduction around what AT is, and I'll answer any Q&As at the end. What I have got, and I've just popped it through in the chat, is relevant links that I'll refer to. So you've got that all on hand for you. Okay, so I'll start at the very beginning, which is, what is AT? So assistive technology is also known as adaptive technology, and it's quite simply technology that assists. So we've recently found the World Health Organization is considering AT as any external products, including devices, equipment, instruments and software, especially produced or generally available. So the primary purpose of which is to maintain or improve an individual's functioning and independence, and thereby promote their well-being. So we really like that definition because it's bringing in the well-being, independence and the technology, which is really important. And we popped that onto our website because we really quite liked that definition for that. And what we've found also is assistive technology products are also used to prevent impairments and secondary health conditions. So there's a variety of uses for it. And in the educational context, AT can refer to the software or hardware which enables access to or improves the use of study and assessment materials. Okay, so in higher education, there's some main categories of AT that you can see listed. We've got the screen readers and the magnification tools, voice recognition software, which you uses your voice to type or control the computer, things to support note taking. There's the text to speech, which reads things out to you, and a range of the planning and organisational tools to help with managing content and time better. And so for our university context, you can see that AT can lessen or remove barriers experienced by staff and students, whether it's in or out of the classroom, the office labs, and even during exams. And we can see, and I've seen that AT can help improve the range of the situations by providing alternative means to access materials, the different tools to capture, organise and make use of research, tools to support note-taking and study habits, and also the tools to lessen the impact of computer use on your body. So I think as I'm talking, you can see there's just such a range and broad scope of applications for AT, and it's not just segmented to a tiny portion of the university community. So at Western, we provide AT for a few reasons. Firstly, and we've mentioned a bit about the law today, we're required by law, as assistive technologies are often deemed to be the reasonable adjustments for people with a disability, and everyone has the right to access education and the necessary AT to complete it. So we talked about the AIPs being legal documents. So some of the specific software we have it needs to be written specifically around into the AIP so that we know students are covered for that. Okay, so this is that part of our legal obligation. So what we actually do at Western is we go a bit more beyond that, because we offer AT to all of our students and all of our staff. So whether that's depending on the degree of requirement and need, we have these things available because we know that, you know, whether it's a small or large amount, it can help our students achieve the best they can, and it creates a more inclusive and supportive environment overall. I did have a video. I'm not keen to play it after our history today. Plus, you know, it's just people saying AT is great. I can tell you that. So I'll skip that video, even though I did have it put in there. So Vicky and Rob, please let Sally know I did have it there ready, okay? What I wanted to talk about, and this popped up in when we were doing an orientation session for new students, was AT and flexibility. And we're talking about how AT can give you flexibility in your studies. And what we wanted to think about is the technology you use and how it can be used to support your studies. And so for Sally and I, AT provides flexibility in that it's available to support you and you can personalize it. And this is whether it's your actual own computer, because there's so many new things coming in to just even the Microsoft suite that you can personalize to suit yourself. But there's a lot more products that we've got available that can make learning more efficient and effective. So we're hoping that students are aware of these services, because I mean, you meet so many people that you know this can support and help. So we love to get out there and talk to people about it. So the flexibility really is being able to utilize it and fit it into the way your life is running. So that flexibility, and we found with COVID that everyone wanted the flexibility. So some examples we've got, you know, you can listen to your notes read out loud with text-to-speech software, maybe while you're sitting at your desk or while people are working at the gym. There's the option to collect research as you go and collate in a digital research folder that can be accessed across multiple devices. Students can dictate assignments and essays if you prefer to talk out your thoughts. And we've also got staff using some of this software as well, so they utilise that for writing reports. Students can plan their assignments using digital mind mapping tools instead of just trying to type everything. The mind mapping is fantastic, and a lot of students are already using this when I chat to them anyway. And there's also the ability to easily generate and review study notes in multiple formats. So you can get them as a video, audio, text, images. There's so many options, and have that ability to, you know, sometimes people just want to hold something in their hands and have that piece of paper they can scroll all over. Other people like it as a video. There's the options, and that's what we like having. So you can see all those options available on there. So what we like to have as well is the training and support. So when Robert asked us to come along, it was kind of talking about AT, but like new initiatives and exciting new things. And I think what happened is my role started at the beginning of last year, and I think I saw students for 2 weeks. But in that 2 weeks, I probably travelled to more campuses than I did in about the previous 3 years. So I went to every single campus, which was lovely because then we were locked down. And I kind of breathed a sigh of relief that my car got a rest. But what we found is that we wanted to build more around the support for students. So what I just wanted to talk about is the options for the training and support that we've got available. And you can see on here, what we did was we developed a range of support that was available anywhere and anytime. So with that ability to have, you know, online lectures pre-recorded, people were kind of doing things at their own time, late at night, early morning. It was a lot more flexible and fluid in that way. So what we did was we created and built more into our website, and we had this available to all staff and students. So as we mentioned before, with everything being available at Western, we're providing that inclusive learning and working environment. So we were trying to empower all our staff and students to reach their potential, providing the flexibility to capture what they need when they need it. So there was the ability to send out emails where students could download and install software without having to go on campus, having that ability to put it on straight away and then have Zoom calls with us so we could train them from their homes. So all of these options that we had, we started to build in and develop. We have still got the access rooms. I know that Terry mentioned and Gay mentioned them earlier, they're still available in various different areas. But having that ability to have the software easily available now, it's changed from having giant big equipment to being able to use your phone to like magnify it. So there's all these options that are available, and it's about letting people know this. And for us as a team, we work well and closely with disability services. So we're located within information technology and digital services, so ITDS, which is fantastic because we get all that IT support. And Sally and I often love being in there because we sound smarter when we say we're in IT, okay? But because we work closely with disability, people know we still care. So we love that balance. It works really well. So with having us in IT, it means that the support that we have, IT now are aware of some of this software, and we've got our subject matter experts who are our kind of extra hands out there for students who need support. So they can contact the service desk and get this, installation support, or quirky little bugs are going on, and that can be addressed without having to wait to get an appointment. So it's working out really well. So I'm just talking about, so that this is the new things, and some of the things are still ongoing. We like to keep moving forward and get a bit bored if we feel like nothing's happened. So the AT website, that's still growing, and we continue to try and look at ways to ensure there's a lot of content on there. We've recently worked around accessibility. So this is something that's been coming out. So there's assistive technology, and then there's accessibility, which is not something specific to our roles, but is important. It's about having accessibility for everybody. So this is something that's coming up, and you'll find that your Zoom, there's captions enabled in Zoom now. So there's various little things that are starting to creep out as part of this, which is really great, and it's beneficial to everybody, okay? The training and support materials, as you saw on the last screen, there's every piece of software we have has its own site with all its material, and we develop videos and support around those. And any Q&As we're getting through, we're starting to post in our extra support site. All students at the university get a 15-minute consultation with us. So this is available to anybody who's interested. They can come and see us. And if the student is registered with disability and they have an AIP, they get a 1-hour appointment. So this is not limited to, this is at least, okay? So if they're coming in with different software, we'll work through that with students and see how they're going. So we want to make sure that everyone's benefiting with what's available. What we did this year is we rolled out a series of webinars on each of the softwares, and we did that through February and March. So we've just finished that. And we ran them as a refresher, but also an introduction to the software. So students who were coming along were able to come into the webinar with anonymity. They didn't have to say who they were. They could ask their questions in the little chat boxes. So it worked out really well for them to see what was available, to know how it would work in action. Sometimes a bit tricky. You don't quite know how something's going to function. So that worked really well for people to see that. So that's something we're looking at rolling out at the beginning of each session. So that kind of gets people in. Bye, Kerry. So that one worked out as well, which was really good. Now, the last one that we had was the Views community. Now, this is something that this initiative builds on the community that we developed in 2019 when COVID challenged us to think of new ways of engaging students. So the Views community, which you can see on the site up on the screen now, provides students with the discussion boards to use for seeking and providing insights into the use and application of the various AT at Western. But it still gives them a place to connect with other students and users of AT, okay? So this is also done, so it's in Views, which is the same learning platform everyone's expected to use, okay? So we're also trying to increase that familiarity of being in that system, okay? And the benefit is as well that having this software in there means that they can also practice in Views. So they can utilize this, practice exams if they want to use their assistive technology in an exam situation in Views. So there's those things that we've developed. And students and users are able to go in there and find out more. So all of the Q&As that you can see published, and there's more popped in there now, have been added into Views from the webinar. So every time we have the Q&As, they go into view so everyone can find out the answers and things. So that was me talking a lot. I could see people nodding. Thank goodness Vicky and Robert, and I think you, Pauline, occasionally nod and interact. So I'm like, yes, you can still hear me, which is fantastic. So I just wanted to let you know, finally, the website and our email address. It's great we promote the AT specialist as opposed to our personal ones, because going there to the team means Sally and I will get that. And we can interact and assist people. So we encourage students to, whether they've got the appointment booked or consult, to always email if there's anything that they're not sure of, because it's sometimes a little tiny thing that they need that will help them move on their way. And we'd rather them practice the software, work it out and keep moving forward rather than just stagnate and give up and not worry. Okay. So I hope that gives you kind of an overview. I think the key points are that we're available for everybody, and obviously, given our role, depending on the challenges and requirements that students are facing, will depend on how we engage and support them. So it could be a little bit they want, or they might become very constant visitors to see us. So it just depends on what their requirements are. But we're doing our best at the moment with two of us to support everybody, and we take feedback seriously. And often when we're doing things, we always give students the opportunity to give us that feedback after a session, so that they can have that confidence that we are taking things either forward or interacting and engaging and then responding to inquiries or things they're not sure of. So there you go. How'd I go? Not too long, did I?
Okay. Cool.
Finally worked out how to unmute.
Oh, I thought you were just like so excited, like, yay, she's awesome. Let her keep talking. No, just kidding.
No. One of the best presentations, and also it covered our meeting anyway, we're going to have anyway.
Awesome. Yes, well, I knew that we had this one booked in. So
can I just quickly add, Natalie, I wanted to show you show you a piece of assistive technology that I think you and Sally are not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
I've just found this recently, and apparently it's not a new piece of technology, and it's not even considered assistive technology.
Yeah.
But okay, this is it. It's a graphics tablet.
Okay.
And so this is the pen that comes with it. So what I do, so what this assistive technology is, it's not considered assistive technology, but what this graphic tablet does is that it's used by graphic artists, online graphic artists that so like to draw and stuff on the computer, and like to draw like manga, anime and stuff like that. But the way I've used it is that I use it as a way to annotate notes that I have already been typed up, or just being able to annotate notes.
Okay.
Rob, it's okay if I share a screen. I just wanted to show you.
I saw a cord. Is that linked to that tablet?
Yeah, that's just a USB thing that I USB cord that attached to the computer. It's also Bluetooth enabled, so you can use Bluetooth to connect it to the laptop. Yep. Okay, so can you see that?
Yeah.
So that is like one of the notes that I've taken yesterday. So what I'm able to do is that I'm able to annotate the typed notes, but I'm also able to write my own notes in a digital capacity. And I think, well, me and Sally haven't actually found a solution for me yet. And this is the solution that I have found. It's because that I have a MacBook laptop, but I don't have an iPad that I can use to write my notes, and I'm not able to type with both my hands. I can type I can type with one hand, and because I have a Mac, my Dragon dictation software isn't really working. So right now I can only I can kind of write my notes, and that is because that's how I learn as well. It's I think studies have shown that actually just reading your notes is not enough.
Yeah. Well, Lynn, does that translate, or does that make your handwriting, does that turn that into text, or does that keep that
you can, because I've got I've purchased Notability, the app. So if my writing was, neat enough and stuff like that, I would be able to, highlight it and change it into text.
Yeah.
But my writing is not neat enough or anything, so like I can't do that right now.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. There is, and as you mentioned, there are so many things out there, and sometimes talking to students, they might have a different solution that they've come up with that's working for them.
Yeah,
I've only ever seen I've had one other student who's done, but they didn't have, it wasn't a graphics tablet, it was just an iPad, and they were showing me something and they had it plugged in, and they were doing that kind of like, here it is, and I'll share my screen, which I kind of thought, oh, I need one of those cords to do the same thing. But I appreciate that, and I will let Sally know about that as well. Because,
it's just a USB cord that it comes with, so that it connects to the laptop and it also charges at the same time.
Okay, I think it might be good to chat to you later on, Pauline. Anyway, with either Sally or myself, just in terms of the Dragon that you were mentioning with the dictation, because I know there's a few things that have popped up, so we might be able to have a chat and see how you're going.
I've already talked to my disability advisor Nola, and also Sally about that, and they did, because they were able to tell me that because I've got a Mac, it's no the newer versions of Dragon are no longer supported on Mac.
Yeah.
And so I would need a Windows computer, but I don't want to purchase a Windows computer.
Yeah. So I think there is that trick that we find sometimes with the software that, and unfortunately, I find that some Mac users, that they only want to stay with Mac because there's so many other benefits to using the Mac for them.
So many accessibility features that that come with Mac, and say I don't want to buy a Windows.
Yeah. I'll put a little note in, and we'll reach out to you and see. I know having Nola as your DA is great, because I know she's had the assistive technology background. So and having Sally on it, you've got kind of the expert. So I'm just like the tag along person that hangs out with all the smartphone ones.
Yeah.
But
wait, they call me your Android user.
No. Oh no. Excellent. Well, thank you for that.
There's nothing wrong with Android users.
Sure, Rob, sure.
I can't use an Apple, I eat them.
That's funny.
That's a bad one.
Excellent. So did anyone have, I've lost the screen and then I got it back. I don't think I missed any questions there at all.
No, there wasn't any questions I can see, Natalie.
If there is anything at all, definitely just email through to AT Specialist. And if you forget that, if you just type in assistive technology in the website for Western, it'll come up. So
if you forget that, email Rob or myself and we can put you through.
Excellent. Thank you guys for your time.
Yep. And if you forget that, email Vic and I, and we can bring it up at next month's meeting.
Yep. Be cool.
I think that wraps everything up. Has anyone else got any questions on anything we spoke about today?
No, I'm just noting that Shoba, which is our general representative for Disability Collective, did manage to make it today to join us as well. So thank you for making the time, Shoba. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a class because tomorrow is a public holiday, so everything got pushed forward. And that's why I was late. I apologize.
No, I got your email, so we're happy about that. So I'd actually like to thank everyone for coming because today has been really informative. As I said, there's a few things I've learned that I didn't know about. Just before we wrap up, I'll definitely email you, Terry, on the action item for the mechanism of reporting that. Vicky, I think you're going to email Terry or Gay about the problem you've got.
Yep.
I actually have my own action item to email Amanda about carers because there's a few things I want to go over with that.
Yeah. And I'll also network Daniel in with both Kerry and Amanda as well in regards to his issue. So Daniel, just keep an eye on your inbox for that, and I'll hopefully get it to you today.
Send him a message because he's got his computer on, but not here at the moment.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. Yeah, he just sent me a message. So I think that wraps up the forum.
Yeah, that wraps it up. And like Rob said, thanks for everybody to coming today. All your contributions have been worthwhile. I hope that for those that did attend and haven't networked with the Disability Collective and the university before, have a little bit more insight as to what we all do. So, yeah, thanks for your time, everybody.
I just want to say thanks for getting it all together. It's been great to see everyone together, and I hope we can do it again. Like you said, Robert, just to, and talk about different things each time. I think it's very useful.
Well, just before everyone goes, I'll actually write the notes up because, as you can see, there's about 40 pages of notes I've written.
Yep. And
So
you're still recording.
I forgot I was recording.
Yeah. So you might want to turn the recording off.
Yep. I know it's going to
Push
sound.
the record button again.
Does this save to my computer? I just need to know.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so.
Send you an email.
Yep. Thanks for that, Terry.